What is up, everybody, and welcome back to today's episode of Why Did I Buy a Mini Truck? As you can see, I've got the passenger door card off, and you might be wondering why. Well, the answer is because in the last video, I couldn't figure out why the driver's side door popper stopped working. Did a little bit of diag, and I narrowed it down to a faulty switch. So, this is partially my fault. This is my first set of door poppers. I'm unsure about the amperage draw from the popper itself. I don't know what pound rating it is either. So before, it was hooked up like this, where the ground was at the door and the positive wire just ran into the bed and then was physically touched to another live wire, and that's how the door opened. I did a little bit of research and I knew it had to be fused, so I obviously ran this wire, the positive wire, into the switch, and then from the switch into the fuse box. Turns out the best way to do it is, one, to not have the ground at the door, to actually ground it inside the cab, and two, to also use a relay. So that is exactly what we're going to be doing. Now I'll show you the other door and show you some of the stuff we did to it, and then we're going to do the same exact thing to this door. As you can tell, this door looks a little bit different, and that is because I not only have rerouted the wiring, which I'll go over in just a second, but I've also used that DEI sound deadening spray. So I got the whole back side of the outside skin, and I got the whole inside door skin. Now it seemed to work pretty well, sprayed on really nice, followed the instructions just like it said. I know it's going to have a little bit of a textured look to it, but you're not going to be seeing this once the door cards are on. And for the most part, I think it did a pretty good job. It's a lot quieter than it was before. This right here took about 3/4 of a can. And I also had enough to go ahead and do this little insert here on the inside of the cab. You can see that little cubby back there. That one is all sprayed on this side. So what we did over here was ran the ground wire right there to the lowest bolt on that bracket. And that goes straight to the cab, which is exactly what we need. And then that main power wire right there, that one is now going to run back to the switch, the new ones that we ordered. And then from the switch, it will go into the relay. And that should be all we need to get it all set up. This does look like a little wet and rubbery right now. I am hoping that it hardens up a little bit. But even if it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't matter. It's inside the door. So what we're going to do is everything we did on the driver door, on the passenger side door. Now the reason we're replacing the switch is because when I pulled it, after I found out that it was the fault for why the door wasn't working anymore, I found out that the switch itself is actually only a 5 amp. Now that is a problem because it was blowing all the way up to a 30 amp fuse. Now, I did go ahead and order 30 amp momentary switches. So when they get in, we'll finish wiring the driver's side door and the passenger side door. So learn from my mistakes. Make sure you do your research on your door poppers. Make sure you wire them up right, so you don't have to do them all again like I did. I am glad though I found out now and tested it. Like, I probably hit that button 20 times back to back to back to back to back, and I just wanted to make sure it was going to work. So now that we have the bugs worked out, the doors will actually open when we need to, because with door poppers, if you can't get in, you can't get in. Now another thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to put a fail safe in here. Now that's just going to be an emergency pull cord that's going to route somewhere outside the vehicle. What that's going to do is, if for some reason the battery is dead or the door popper stops working, I can physically open the door from the outside. A lot of people don't think about that, but if your door poppers do ever fail, then you got to have some way to get in, right? Since I don't have a sliding back window or anything that takes a key to actually open, that would be a big problem. Now, originally I was thinking about getting rid of the door poppers altogether and actually hooking up a lock cylinder on the outside, maybe an OEM one, and making it to where I use the key to lock and unlock the door to actually make it so it opens the door. Now, it seems like a lot of work, and since the door poppers were already here, we went ahead and decided just to keep those. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Maybe we'll do something like that in the drift truck, but I doubt it because I'd like to have just regular door handles in that. So I'm going to go ahead and button up the passenger side door, make sure it's all set up the correct way, and then when the switches show up, we'll wire them in, make sure everything works again. In the meantime, though, when I'm finished with that, we're going to go ahead and be pulling this truck into the other garage. We're going to get the black truck in here, and we are going to start disassembly. So stay tuned for that video. Thank you for following and watching. If you have any comments, feel free to drop them down below. And I will catch you guys on the next one.